The McLaren 720S has been with us now for around 5 years. And in that time, a host of other supercars have come along that are more technologically advanced and some even quicker. But I still think that today in 2022, the 720S is still right up there with the very best out there. You see, the 720S is genuinely a brilliant everyday car. Not just everyday supercar, but car. And to show that, before I go and take this for a real blast, I wanted to bring it into town and see what it's really like. Let's start with the way it rides on the road. The way it rides is nothing short of witchcraft for a car like this. It's genuinely BMW 3 Series level of comfort in here. It is spectacular in the way that it rides. In towns, we tend to have terrible roads, let's be honest. They're always really broken, potholy, and just not nice to drive on. And that's where you'd expect a car like this to come unstuck. But no, not the 720S. It rides bumps and crests and potholes so well, it actually means that you can enjoy the driving experience far more, because you're not constantly thinking, oh, that looks a bit horrible, oh, I'm gonna hit that, and oh, it's gonna bottom out. We've got nose lift, but I've got to be honest, I've not really used it because the ground clearance is actually very, very good for a car like this. I've not actually found a single bump yet where I've thought, oh, that looks a bit big, I'm gonna have to put the lift up. It's just incredibly easy around town, which is something I don't think you would expect from a car like this. And then there's the visibility. The visibility for me is one of the highlights. You look at this car and you think, oh, it's going to be really difficult to see out of, and it's a supercar. Supercars are stereotypically really difficult to see out of. But no, again, this is an area where the 720 really excels, because McLaren have built this carbon tub in such a way that you can see everything. The rake on this windscreen goes so far down that you feel like you can actually see the front of the car. Now that's just not there in other supercars. So you have so much confidence on exactly where you're placing this on the road. You always know where the front end is. Yeah, the hips are a little bit big, but it's a supercar, what do you expect? But it's not too big that you're scared of hitting the rear wheels on curbs. You don't go through a gap like that. Ugh. No, you just feel confidence when you're driving it. It feels fabulous in town. I've genuinely driven family hatchbacks that are more difficult to drive in town than this, and I'm not just saying that. The visibility is the highlight, which is only made better by the fact that this is a Spider with the folding roof, which can drop and go back up at 12 seconds a time at up to 32 miles an hour. It's so easy, this car. But let's be honest, it would be pretty criminal of me to drive a car like this and not take it somewhere beautiful and open the taps a little bit. Oh yes, this is what the 720S was born to do. We have a 4-litre twin turbocharged V8 with 720 horsepower and 568 pounds-foot of torque. And that means the 0 to 62 mile an hour sprint is dealt with in 2.9 seconds, and the 0 to 124 is dealt with in just 7.9 seconds. Be in no doubt, this car is ballistically fast. I first drove a 720S a few years ago now, and I kid you not, the first time I squeezed on that throttle, it actually brought a tear to my eye. And even now, years later, I still can't really find the vocabulary to describe just how ballistically fast this car is. I mean, watch this, okay? National speed limit, we're going to drop it. Watch this. My word, it's unbelievable in a straight line. It beggars belief. You squeeze on the throttle, you keep squeezing, then you actually realise I've still got half of that throttle pedal remaining, and it's completely baffling. And it just pulls and pulls and pulls relentlessly like a freight train. It is just spectacularly fast in a straight line. But don't for 1 second think that that's all the 720 is. Oh no, because when you get to some twisty roads and you're able to throw this car into bends, that's, I think, the most impressive thing. What's impressive is how attainable the performance is in this car. You look at it and you hear the numbers and you hear it start up and you think it's going to be incredibly difficult, intimidating to drive or even drive fast. But no, I think that's where McLaren are witchcraft. Somehow they've made this car so easy to drive. Now, given I am driving this in a heat wave in the UK, so the tarmac is really warm, the tyres are really warm, so it is mighty impressive. The grip levels today are fabulous. However, I feel like you wouldn't even be scared to drive this quickly in the wet. Yes, it needs to be treated with respect, like any supercar, especially one with 700 horsepower going to the rear wheels only. But it's not intimidating. And the rewards, when you treat this car with respect, even for a beginner, are outstanding. Absolutely outstanding. Even now, 5 years after it came out, the way it goes down a road, the confidence that it inspires is simply sensational. I don't feel intimidated by this car. The visibility out, I mentioned it when I was driving around town, but the visibility when you start and get on it gives you so much confidence to place the car exactly where you want it to go. The responsiveness of the steering is another highlight for me. The front end is sensational. McLaren's steering is always incredibly good, and the 720S is no exception. The way that the input goes up through your arms and into your nervous system is like you're linked to it via an uplink directly into the back of your head, right into your brain. Because the way that it just knows what you want at any given point, it's predictable, it's easy. And that's something incredible. McLaren have managed to make a 700 horsepower supercar with hypercar performance relatively easy to drive, and what that means is it means that you can enjoy it. Oh my word, it's absolutely sensational. Another thing I need to talk about is the noise. When it first came out, I saw a lot of people complaining about the noise. Yes, it hasn't got the bark of a Lamborghini V10, it hasn't got the soul of a Ferrari V8, but listen to, ooh, I was about to mention the whip cracks, and then the car delivered. Especially on downshift, it sounds incredible in my eyes. It sounds wonderful. The car just wakes up. And I actually quite like that you can actually drive this car relatively quietly, but then when you get up it wakes up, and then its soul, its heart comes out. The power is pretty much always there. There's a slight bit of turbo lag, but there's so much grunt that it doesn't matter. You squeeze on the throttle up to around 5,500 RPM and you'll be astounded at how quickly you pick up the pace. Save that 8,500 RPM red line for a special occasion and you will be left in absolute awe at what McLaren has achieved here. You see, what McLaren has achieved is they've not only built an excellent supercar, they've built a truly astounding supercar.